why Jeffrey didn't connect with more people. And you can go online and listen for free. Don't pay for any of this stuff, but listen to the first Gun Club album, Fire of Love. It's a magic record. And Jeffrey really had the lightning in a bottle, like few people rarely do. Like Nick Cave, David Bowie, brilliant like that. Jeffrey had a piece of that, but he toxified his body. He wouldn't give his body a break. And finally his body said, "You win, we're out of here." Because he drank so much and did so many drugs, his liver and his body just went like, "We're checking out, man. Like, I guess you don't want to live." And your body, like Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy, his body eventually went, "You win, man, we're done." He turned yellow and passed away. And so that's what befell Jeffrey Lee, and it's sad. Okay, so I swear I'm almost done with you. This question asks about your writing. You said in an interview once, the hardest part about your writing for your journey through writing was letting go of your ego. And how are you able to do that? There's a writer, he's dead now. His name is Hubert Selby Jr. He wrote The Last Exit to Brooklyn, got made into a movie. Requiem for a Dream got made into a movie. He and I were really good friends. And I was the young guy trying to write, and he was the old expert in writing. And I would give him all of my writing, and he would actually read it and mark it up. He was very generous with his time. I looked him up in the phone book in 1986, 653-761-4213 area code. And I cold called him, invited myself to his apartment, and we became pals. And so he would read my stuff, and he had a lot of foul language I'm not going to repeat, like you guys, you can't get a certain part of your anatomy out of the way of the writing. Like, stop trying to look good in this story, Henry. You're awful. Don't make yourself the hero when tell the damn truth. Like, you're covering, like you're rope-a-doping the truth. Like, you want to be a good writer, you got to lay it all out there and stop looking good. And I went through my writing and I realized I suffered from insecurity and being defensive, what I talked about tonight. And so the biggest change I made with my writing, thanks to Hubert Selby taking time, seeing some potential in me, was I could not admit how much things hurt. Like, I could not admit how much being raised with two alcoholic parents really hurt me. And having a pedophile stepbrother really hurt me. I'm a kid, it's doing damage to me. And I'm not a tough guy, it wrecked me pretty good. And so the more I could put on the page how much things actually hurt, that's when the writing started to ring true. And that's when Hubert Selby would really now you're writing. Like, you stay on this and you might get somewhere. And it was that lesson that he gave me somewhere in the late 1980s that I have done my best to maintain. Some days writing, it's a little harder than others to tell that truth about how much someone else can ruin your life and crush you emotionally. And so that's the biggest lesson I learned was from him. And I literally write every single day. I write to half an hour before stage time. And then I start getting ready to come out here and not blow it too bad. But I write, I don't take breaks. I don't believe in vacations. I write literally 365 days a year. And so I'm going on the bus pretty soon. There's some food waiting for me. I'll be writing for the next hour before I get some sleep. And so all of that is true. I don't know, I swear I'm almost done with you. I don't know how to answer this. The craziest thing you've ever done. Yeah, but I'm not a woo guy. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I've been in crazy situations. I've done some dumb things. Maybe the craziest thing I ever did was pack a duffel bag, put 6 $20 bills in my back pocket, and leave my hometown for uncertainty with Black Flag. Or as David Lee Roth used to say, "Henry, you're sailing on the seas of consequence." And so that would be kind of crazy, but it turned out okay. I've been in a lot of crazy situations that could have gone really badly, and I'll pull out at least one. Black Flag played in San Francisco, about 8 hours up the coast from LA. We played on a weekend, we made some money, we can eat for a week. We come down to Los Angeles, and the Black Flag van pulls up in front of an apartment building where my girlfriend at the time was living, somewhere in Hollywood. And so I get out, and I hit the doorbell, and she lets me in, and there's a funny smell in her microscopic living room. Like, that smells like a mountain of marijuana. I look around and there are hefty trash bags full of something. It looks like trash, like something. I'm like, what is this? She goes like, okay, my brother knows a weed dealer. He and his friend broke into their place and stole all the weed, and this is it. I'm like, we're going to die. You have like 600 pounds of marijuana on your freaking couch? Like, we're gonna get shot in the head. I mean, they're not gonna come like, you naughty girl, and take the weed. They're gonna kill us. Like you gotta get rid of but it's my brother. Like, get your brother on the phone. And so she, gave me the phone. I said, dude, you gotta come here and get this weed. Like, you've put your sister in grave danger. Of course you didn't put it in your own apartment, because you know the downside. And so I sat with her for a few hours, and the brother and his bros came and took the weed out of the building. And it was absolute insanity for about 3 hours. And I'm just like, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, and I'm gonna die. And so I've had things like that happen to me. One time Black Flag is playing a house party, and we would say yes to house parties. Like, hey man, my parents are out for the night. You guys want to come and play in our living room? We had our own PA. We would load it into the van and drive to some kid's house and set up in the living room and start playing. Police helicopters overhead, it would get dramatic. So one time we're playing in this guy's house. We don't know he's a drug dealer. He just told us to come over and play. And so the cops come sweeping in. This guy and his friends leave. We're the only people in this house. He left with all of his cocaine out the side door. So we're standing there with cops, and these are LA cops. They will not shake your hand. They're not nice people. And so the cop comes up to me. Why are you sweating? I'm the singer in a very physical band. Why are you out of breath? Because I've just been singing songs that are built to destroy human life. I'm in a pair of gym shorts, completely sweating, 153 pounds of hate. Are you high? I'm never! I've got the straight edge. I can't tell him the history of all that. And he takes a bag of white powder and he drops it at my feet. He's like, what's that? That's how I'm gonna go to jail. That's what that is. He's planting drugs on me. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. Come on. And he picked up whatever the bag was full of and he put it in his pocket. He said, get your band and your stuff and get out of here right now. I said, you got it, man. And so that was a crazy situation. We did a show in 1986 in Northern California, and we're playing. The stage is very low, there's no barricade, and people are acting out. I see a punk rock girl take her spiked wrist bracelet off her wrist, put it around her knuckles, and she's punching men in the head as they go by. Thankfully, most of the time, she misses. But she connects with a guy in the side of his head, the fleshy part right here, and opens him up. He's like, whoa, it must have hurt. He's bleeding, and he's looking around. Who's gonna think a punk rock girl is exacting this kind of, you think it's a guy doing it. So he's looking at all the guys. It's not me. I know who it is, and she's right there. I reach over and I grab the spiked wrist bracelet and I take it from her and I give it to our monitor guy on the side of the stage. You'll get it back at the end of the semester. She comes up to the front of the stage and she punches straight out at a certain part of my anatomy. She goes a little high, which is really in my favor. So she misses all of the parts and she hits me right there. We finish the show. Her brother is a cop. She calls the cops on me and says, this guy in Black Flag beat me up. I have never hit a woman. I'm never going to hit a woman. After the show is over, two California cops, at least on steroids. They're just these terrifying guys. They take me out behind the venue where there's a few punk rockers lurking, and they've got me jammed up, and one has me restrained, and the other guy puts on leather gloves. And he's going to start working me over. He's like, so, and then I'm going to see him pulling the leather tight so he won't hurt himself when he starts beating me up. So you hit a girl? I start moving to where there's a street light so someone can witness me about to get beaten up by two professionals. And I said, no, man, you don't know me. I know I look like a degenerate to you, and I probably am, but I don't hit, and I tell him exactly what happened. And I told him so convincingly, and other people hey man, a girl, the people were basically corroborating my story. And so they very begrudgingly let me go. And so that night, we overnight at someone's house. Hey, we'll put you guys up. We go to a house. It's a drug dealer's house. That girl comes over to hang out with him. Like, no, not you again. And now she's hitting on me. Like, lady, like, you almost had me beaten to death by the cops. Like, no, no, and no. She says, if you don't want to make it with me, I can just call my brother again. I'm like, you're extorting sex out of me? Oh, poor me. And so I was like, no. And so now there's a guy who owns the house. He's in a bathrobe. He's right out of Pulp Fiction. He's got a house full of dope. And like, she says, cops, like, no, 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 you can't call the cops. You guys have to leave. And so we had to get back in our vehicles and split. And so in my life, I'm not a drug guy, but I've been around enough crazy people to where I've had many, many experiences that were crazy. But as far as me doing crazy things, I've picked up a lot of deadly poisonous snakes in my life, including king cobras, black mambas, and any kind of cobra you can imagine, and many North American rattlesnakes. That is easily crazy, because any one of them can get out of your grip and administer a bite that could kill you. And so I've done that, and it only struck me as crazy years later, like, what was I thinking? Like me and a king cobra. What was I thinking? And I've actually picked up quite a few of them. And so when I was doing work for National Geographic, the people who were shooting film of me were amazed, because every country we could go to, like India, Vietnam, I could pick up the local cobras and free handle them. And all the locals are now paying me money, like you can come for dinner anytime. And so I guess that would probably be the craziest thing I willfully did, because any of those animals can kill you, it's no joke. But otherwise, I've just been around crazy people, and I've managed to be not that crazy on my own. I'd like to think I'm crazier than I am. Anyway, did you have, okay, last question. Finally, you get to leave. Any teachers that had an impact on you? I was a really bad student because I was hyperactive, and so